So now we'll look at calculating with surds. We're going to start with multiplication. So this question here is, what is root 8 multiplied by root 3? Well, the best way to visualize this is to actually combine the roots. So you've got 8 times 3 under the same root. It's exactly the same question, just written differently. If you see this, you can then start to say, well, 3 8s are 24. So now I've got square root of 24. So at this point here, you can simplify this like we did at the very start on the last video, simplifying surds. We know that 4 times 6 is 24. So that's the same as saying square root of 4 multiplied by the square root of 6. Well, the square root of 4 is 2. Root 6, you can't take it any further, stays as root 6. Now, when you get used to doing this sort of thing, you'll be able to skip some steps. So you'll probably skip that step and you'll go straight to this. And you'll probably skip that step and go straight to this. So hopefully, as practice goes on, this will become more fluid for you to work through. Let's do this question here. It's exactly the same process. So we're going to visualize this as being 8 multiplied by 7 under the same root. Well, 8 7s are 56. So here now we've got the square root of 56. I find the factors first. So we've got 2 multiplied by 28. 6 add 5 is 11. So if I add those digits together, 11 is not a multiple of 3. So I haven't got 3 as a factor. These are both even. So 2 doubled is 4. 28 halved is 14. So I can now see I have got a square number. So I'll stop there. So what I'm going to do now is write that as the square root of 4 multiplied by the square root of 14. Notice this time I've actually separated them. So you've got 2 root 14. Okay, let's look at this question here. It looks challenging, but to be honest, it's no more difficult than the other ones. You just need to know your algebra and to know that AB is just saying A times B, 2 times root 7, 3 times root 5. Just another way of writing it. So if you recognize that, you should hopefully be able to see that is the same as saying 2 times root 7 multiplied by 3 times root 5. Bring like terms together. So in this case, you've got 2 multiplied by 3, which is 6. Root 7 multiplied by root 5. So 7 5s are 35 and they go under the root, and you can't simplify that any further. So the final thing I wanted to do now is look at your first rule. So what you'll hopefully have noticed, if I go back a page, is that root 8 times root 7 is the same as saying 8 times 7 under the same root. Or root 8 times root 3 is the same as saying 8 times 3 under the same root. So our rule is very simple. Root A multiplied by root B is exactly the same. It's equal to saying root A, B. So if you're going to make some notes, that's probably the one note you want to make. Okay, let's look at division. So in this question here, we've got the root 27 divided by root 3. What you need to recognize is that can be written in 2 different ways, or 3 different ways. It can be written as the root 27 over the root 3, as well as the original way, and it can be written as 27 over 3 all square rooted. They're all the same. Now I prefer this last one because it kind of helps me see that I've got 27 divided by 3. Well, 27 divided by 3 is 9. So I'm looking at the square root of 9 and my answer is 3. If I look at this, I will write it in both ways just so you can see the way it looks each time. So now 20 divided by 2 is 10. So I'm left with the square root of 10. I can't simplify that any further. So my rule number 2 for division is very straightforward. The square root of A divided by the square root of B is the same as or equal to the square root of A over the square root of B, which is also the same as saying A over B all square rooted. Again, like before, if you're going to make a note, I would suggest you want to have that rule written down. So now you can multiply and divide with surds. Have a look at the next video for adding and subtracting.